No, it's First Corinthians. So I did a lot of reading and reviewing chapters 9 through 16 in First Corinthians, but the springboard for my exploring those scriptures definitely started in chapter 8. So chapters 8 through 10, it covers food, and chapters 11 through 14 cover gathering, as in God's people getting together, as in having a service, doing church together. Chapter 15 covers the resurrection and why it is not why it's essential to the gospel, why it's the point. He is addressing people that do profess to know God and love Jesus and want to follow the way of Jesus. And so in 8, what was really just sticking
it's
out
cool that
it's
cool that he talks about food for 2 chapters.
It is because all of this,
or 3 chapters, 8, 9, and 10. Sorry.
Yeah, 8, 9, and 10. 3
I'm
chapters.
so hungry I can't think.
I know. So he says in verse 1 of chapter 8, says, now about food sacrificed to idols. This is the point that I just kept coming back to, even though I was like, I'm not covering chapter 8. We know that we all possess knowledge, but knowledge puffs up while love builds up. That was kind of the springboard for exploring the other chapters of the rest of this book. Because he goes through that again. You're going to see a pattern here. You're going to see Paul identify a problem, and then you're going to see him respond to the problem with gospel, specifically with love. That's how he's like, okay, we've identified the problem, and I'm not just scolding you. This is how we address this problem. For me personally, when I think about the food thing, because I know I'm not in the same cultural context. I'm not in the same part of the timeline of our world as what was taking place in this time in Corinth. But for me, it was what I immediately thought of is if you're getting together and having dinner with your friends, and it's customary for everybody to have a glass or 2 of wine. That's just what you do. But you have a friend who is been an alcoholic and is 3 days sober. It's just about considering other people.
Yeah, that's good.
If you have someone who's been sober for 20 years and they're around people who drink wine all the time and it doesn't seem to trip them up or tempt them in any way, it's basically, and we'll get more into this as we overview these chapters, but Paul combats these things by, look, it's about being considerate of other people. It's about loving other people above yourself. Do you need something so badly that it's worth you having? Do you need what you want more than you need to foster someone else's faith? He didn't say starve yourself. He just said think before you eat, because if you're going to make someone struggle, then that as a loving Christian is someone who says they want to follow Jesus, who went out of his way to serve others above himself, who went out of his way to consider other people above his own comfort and wants and needs. And make no mistake, he had wants and needs because he was not just fully God, he was fully man. So he's like, look, when you're partaking of this, you need to account for other people's confusion and their conclusion. If you know it's going to cause them to struggle, then don't do it. He's not saying read everybody's mind and know everybody's backstory. He's just saying be thoughtful and considerate and aware of what you're doing.
Come over to your house and you're getting ready to serve meat, and then they're like, yeah, we don't eat meat because we don't worship idols. Paul says just eat vegetables.
Right.
And,
right.
and that's I would think giving up meat for a meal is harder than giving up wine for a meal.
Well, yeah, and it probably would, but it's not a big ask for, I think that oftentimes our selfishness, our reward for our selfishness, our immediate gratification, is not a bigger payoff than the cost to others.
Yeah, amen.
That it might produce, the consequences that it might produce to others. We're called to be more mature in our faith than that.
Those who think they know something do not yet know as they ought to know, but whoever loves God is known by God.
It's kind of a big slap down. Like, I know you're brilliant. People who have to walk around saying how brilliant they are, they might not, to me, it's kind of like when you puff yourself up, as the first verse describes, with your knowledge, with your knowing everything, don't mistake your knowledge for even your brilliance. Don't mistake any genius you might possess as the limitless knowledge of God. He knows more than you. So just presuppose for a moment, since you're following him, that you might want to defer to him and his wisdom. And one of the best ways to humble ourselves so that he can give us his wisdom, so that we'll receive it. I mean, he's always willing to give it. It's a matter of wanting to receive it. And you can't receive this wisdom from God if you're too busy blowing your own horn and being smarter than everybody else in the room. And so how he combats that is by instructing us to love.
Okay, that's good.
Love is a good tamper. It tamps down our ego.